Good morning. Going to give people a few minutes to get in. And I'll just double check and making sure the sound is coming through properly. All right. So on your screen, you should be seeing our Dash login page, which is dash.virtualpbx.com. So this training will cover how to set up Dash, the various features that are included. If you are a vConsole customer, you're going to want to go onto our company website under vConsole support. There'll be a training there, basically pre-recorded training that you can look at any time. Likewise, the Dash training, there is a pre-recorded Dash training on our website, so you can view that at any time or link it to other colleagues who may need this information. All right, let's go ahead and get logged in. Your username is your email address. And then, I think I just messed that up. Sorry about that. Wow, I cannot type today. Yeah, unfortunately, this software I'm using has a little weird quirks when it comes to dealing with the included browser. So if I make a typo, I have to close it and restart it. So I do apologize. Let's see if I can actually get myself logged in here. All right, so your username should be your email address that you signed up with. The password would have been generated for you by the system. If you're a new admin, so you're already in an established account, but you're new as an admin, then the person who created your user on the account would have created a password for you, and hopefully they sent that to you. And then lastly, you have the account name, which is typically your company name. It can also be your name if you just signed up for yourself. Then you have the option here to click Remember Me, as well as your Forgot Info link. The main thing is, especially for new signups, sometimes when you log in, your browser will automatically capitalize the first letter of your name or of your email address. And that can cause an error when trying to log in. Just change it to a lowercase, and you should be able to get in. And then we'll click sign in. All right, so now what comes up is our dashboard page. Basically just gives you a snapshot of the account. Now, for brand new signups, what you will actually start off looking at is your account page. Right, so you can look at your user as well as your account. You can adjust these information, so like your time zone, for example, etc. Once you close this, then you'll be in your dashboard page. So total users, these are all the people who are making and receiving calls on the account. Depending on the plan you have, you might be being charged per user, so please be aware of that. Down below that, we've got our total devices, in this case 68, which is quite a few, and then broken down by type. So a soft phone is a software application, either on a computer, on a tablet, on a mobile phone, or it could be used to program a VoIP phone that we don't support natively. Then you have cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. A web phone is a particular type of soft phone. Dash has the ability of making use of a web phone through Chrome or Firefox. So basically, you add a web phone on Dash, you can then you'll have a link that will then take you to the web phone in your browser. You can then use your browser to make and receive calls. SIP phone, that's SIP phone, is a particular type of VoIP phone. It's like this Session Interface Protocol, I believe is what it stands for. So these are physical phones that sit on your desk, Yealink, Polycom, Cisco, etc. So these are phones that what we refer to as auto-provisionable, meaning they're supported by Dash. And then landline is physical landline that plugs into a wall jack that you're used to. Total numbers, these are the total phone numbers on the account, so in this case 41. They're broken down first by assigned numbers and spare numbers. So an assigned number is a number you're using. It's going someplace, right? It's a main number, for example. It goes directly to your sales guy Bob, or it's going to your technical support ring group, or an ACDQ, or it's a fax box number, that sort of thing. A spare number is a number on your account that you're not using right now. Now, you're still being, if you're over your number allocations, right, each plan has a number, a certain number of phone numbers that are included as part of the plan. If you are over that, say you have like 3 spare numbers, and those 3 numbers are above your allocation, you're still being charged for those numbers even though they're spare numbers. So if you're not going to use them ever, like you're not ever done with this number, you're going to want to delete them completely. Right, then the further breakdown here is between USDID, meaning U.S. local phone number, a number in Los Angeles, or a number in Dallas, etc. And then U.S. toll-free, meaning 888 or 800, etc. Now, if this account had international numbers, there would also be another line there for international. We're going to scoot up here to the right. We've got the main numbers. So these are the main numbers on the account. So these numbers all behave the same way. So they'll have the same main greeting, for example, and they'll route the same way. So these are basically your default company numbers, right? This is what most people know when they call you. Down below that, we've got a couple conference numbers. So this account, I'm making use of the conference bridge. Those 2 numbers are the numbers that I can have people access to get to the conferences. Next up, we got the fax box number. So this is so I can receive faxes. And then company directory users is 23. That matches my total number of users. You can also download this and then send it out to your staff. Now, all your users do not have to be in the company directory. It just happens to be the case on this particular account. So there's a couple points of navigation I want to point out here. On the left, these are your main features on the account, and that we're going to go through all of them. Up here, these are some highlighted ones that we're going to cover in depth next. Up top here, this is your account name, so you can look at your name and whatnot. You've got your help fields, so this you can get the chat. You've got my web phone link, because I already have one on this account. Online store, etc. And then the hamburger menu, at least that's what their support team refers to it. So dashboard is what we're on right now. This account has ACDQs, or I should say ACDQs Pro. You have blacklists, faxes, etc. So we'll get into those features at the very end, and then that's how you exit. All right, so let's go to caller ID. So caller ID is basically your basic company caller ID. You choose one of your numbers, and then this is what shows up on your outbound calls from your VoIP devices. And then you click on Save Changes. And now you're saying here, I'm getting one that says, hey, set up your E911 on your main number, which we'll get to when we get to the numbers. Now, next up, we've got hold music. So hold music on Dash is after a call is already connected to a user, right? So for incoming calls, the inbound caller, they're just going to hear ringtones, right? They'll hear your main greeting when it plays. And then as they connect to a particular user, they're going to hear, again, this ringing. Now, when your user picks up and starts talking to somebody, if they press the hold button on their physical VoIP phone, this is the file that will play. It can be a .wav or .mp3. You want it to make sure it's recorded in mono, not in stereo, and it's under 1 megabyte in size. A 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes. This is normally a pull down, which you could see any recordings you have on the account. You can upload a new recording here. And then you click on Save Changes. And then next, the big deal is the hold or hours. So this is part of our main number section. So actually, let's go up here to main numbers. You see your numbers here. If you don't want to use them as a main number, you can always unassign it. Once you unassign a number, it goes into the spare number grouping. You got a little gear icon here, and you have caller ID. I can set up the E911 now if I want to. And that looks like I have a typo there, but there we go. You also can set up the caller ID here. So then you can set up your outbound caller ID name. This is restricted to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. That's an industry standard. So basically, after you type in, say, ABC cleaners, and you click Save Changes, so that information gets transmitted to the other carriers that support caller ID name, or CNAME. It takes about 3 business days on average for all of them to get updated. After that point, then when you make an outbound call, we transmit the CNAME to whoever you're calling. Now, the call has to go through a bunch of carriers to get to its destination. If one of those carriers that it goes through happens to not support CNAME, then the CNAME information does not get to your person you're calling. Likewise, for any carriers who do support CNAME, it's a low priority for them, right? Their primary concern is connecting the call, first and foremost, followed by the caller ID, the number itself. So if they're having heavier than expected call volume, they'll drop CNAME pretty quickly. Obviously, if they're having some kind of maintenance or outage you're hoping just to get your call to get through. Oh, and you can turn on inbound CNAME, so that way when people are calling you, you can see the company name if they have that selected. You can buy numbers here, local and toll-free, as well as from spare numbers. We'll get into buying numbers under the Numbers tab. Let's go to the office hours strategy. So by default, new accounts start off with 24-hour open office, basically meaning the system's ready to take calls. Doesn't work for everybody. So if you select custom office hours, then for each day of the week, you put in a check mark that you're open, right in front of it. And then in the boxes to the right, you select your hours, right? This is going to be in 24 or military time. So in this case, I'm open from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. You also have this option way down here at the bottom. If you put a check mark in front of it, that's if your whole office or your store is closed for lunch, right? Everyone goes to lunch at the same time. Then you can include what those lunch hours are. Next up, we got office holidays. So put a check mark if you're closed for office holidays, right? And then after that, you can add your individual holidays. You have an option here for single day, date range, or advanced. So single day, just one day, right? 4th of July is coming up in the U.S., so you put in July 4th, the system would automatically put you in holiday mode. Right? Date range would be something for like Thanksgiving in the United States, usually that Thursday and that Friday. You can, again, put the date range that you're closed. The system would automatically put you in closed mode. Advanced is more for like, we want to be closed on the second Monday of May. Right? Doesn't care what date it is, it's just the second Monday of that month, system's closed. The main concern for date range is for over New Year's. You do not want to set a date range that covers New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day, because there's no year indicator within the holidays. So the system would treat that as basically you're in holiday mode all year. It's probably not that useful. So for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we say just do a single day for New Year's Eve, a single day for New Year's Day, and then if you have beyond that, you can do date ranges leading up to or beyond that. Next up, we got your incoming call handling. So this is how your main numbers are handling calls. Right? Now we've got a couple sub-tabs underneath here. So we've got our open hours, right? So basically when we're open, how we're handling calls. You've got your lunch hours. So how is the system handling calls when you're on lunch? After hours, how is the system going to handle calls when you're not open? And then obviously your holidays if you have something different. Now you have the same options under all of those sub-tabs, so we'll just cover them here. So this first one is incoming call goes to the virtual receptionist. This is actually a link, and we'll open up at some point. There we go. So on our left, we have our main menu. This is what people press on their phones to navigate through the system. Right now, this only has a couple options, but you can have, 1 to go to your sales group, 2 goes to your support group, 3 goes to your billing group, etc. And in fact, here, like I can set this, we'll go to Bob. Over on the right, you've got your greeting options. So text-to-speech, you just type it in, you click Update, and then when you click, I should point this out right now. On the virtual receptionist, any changes you make here, you have to click Save on this box here, and then you need to save changes under incoming call handling for all your changes to take effect. We see that is there. So text-to-speech, you would type in whatever you want to say, you click Update, hit Save Changes, and it's good to go. Right? Upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, in mono, under 1 megabyte. Right? Just find the file on your computer, click Update. If you already have existing recordings on the account, You can select one at a time. That's useful for, say, you just had a holiday, so you have a specials for the holiday, so you can put a greeting up for that time, and then you can revert back once that holiday or that special is no longer in effect. Recorded over the phone. This is from a physical VoIP phone. Actually, excuse me, any VoIP phone on the account. So when it says a registered phone, that means a VoIP device. You call your main number, you enter in the PIN number here, and then it will prompt you to record. Now, if you already have a greeting in place, then it's not going to prompt you for the PIN number. You're going to have to enter the PIN number when you hear that recording, and then it'll walk you through those steps. One thing to keep in mind is in that situation where you have a recording in place and then you call in to record a new greeting, the system replaces that existing recording with your voice, right, with the recording you just make. So the file name will be the same, right? So you've had main greeting, Tuesday, and then you called in to record a greeting. Whatever main greeting Tuesday was, that content is replaced by whatever you just record over the phone. So that's something to be aware of. Oh, if you want to record from a cell phone or landline, we'll need a written request from an admin or the billing contact to our support team, support@virtualpbx.com, and just state that you'd like to be able to record from an outside line. They'll open that up for you, let you know that it's open. They'll request that when you're done, you let us know, so then we can close that off. And it's a security feature, so someone doesn't randomly try to call in and enter a PIN number to try to, hijack your recording. Next up, we got professional recording services. So we've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. You basically go to their site. You can select any of their packages they have available. They have like 100 voice actors to choose from, both men and women. They have Spanish available. They have French available. They have different versions of English available. You can do multilingual greetings. They also have packages that include scripting with music, right? So you can have custom hold music where music file plays, and then you have a scripted message play, and then the music plays again, etc. They handle their own billing. They'll email you the completed files, and then you can simply upload. All right, settings, number of retries on misdial. You can enter in a digit there. Basically, how many times are you letting your inbound caller make a mistake? Now, in this case, I have a default route set up, so after that one mistake, the inbound caller is going to be set to Bob. So if Bob is able to answer it, he will. Otherwise, it will go to Bob's voicemail. We don't typically recommend a default route for most people just to avoid robodialers getting through. Basically say have no default route, because that means a robodialer doesn't have fingers to press a button, or they don't know what tone to send, so they get stymied right at your main greeting. All right, so let's hit save. All right, so next up, we've got call comes in, and in this case, go to Bob, and then goes to the virtual receptionist. Now, you could also set it up to go to any other user, obviously, but let's go. We got call queues. You can have it go to a specific device. You can have it go to a media file, although I don't generally recommend that, but it still works. It's just that means in this particular case you have a chance of 2 greetings being played, which might be confusing to your customers. And then you've got your ring groups, right? So then it can ring the people in that group and then go to virtual receptionist. Basically what this option is you're giving a staff member or staff members an opportunity to answer the call first. If they're not able to get to it, then the caller goes to virtual receptionist. They can enter a menu option or an extension number and then continue their call. This last option, again, you have that same option of users, groups, queues, device, etc. So someone has a chance to answer the call. If they're not able to get to it, in this case, we're sending them to a voicemail box. You also have the option here to skip even trying to have a user. You can just have it go straight to voicemail. So you're just closed for a little while for whatever reasons. You just say, hey, we're sending callers to voicemail. Right, and all these options exist on each of these. Your virtual receptionist will be different for each one, or can be different for each one. You have to set them up individually. And in fact, let's see how this one is set. Yep, see in this case we're going to Smart Directory or to voicemail box. So that's during different phases you can have it go route differently. All right, your main conference numbers. Again, you can add numbers, you can unassign them numbers. The custom greeting right now is just a text-to-speech. And then your main fax box number, so you can accept faxes. This account has a problem with the fax box, but usually when you click Edit Fax Box, you won't get this error. But you will instead get a box to enter in information. So the first field you can enter in is an email address, which is for inbound faxes, where we're sending the faxes to. It's going to be a PDF file. The other field is for an email domain. So if your company has its own email domain, you can put in that domain name, and then any person with your company's email address can send out a fax. They just have to have the correct format. They don't need to be a user on the account to send out a fax. All right, let's go over to numbers. All right, numbers, these are all the numbers on the account. You've got numbers in use, and you have spare numbers. These red ones, these were attempted port attempts that never completed. And then these are your active numbers. Under spare numbers, go ahead and look. So under by numbers, you have local or toll-free. If you do toll-free, you select one of the toll-free prefixes. Oops. Not sure why nothing showed up there. For a local, you would just do the area code. Interesting. Not quite sure. Normally, you have a bunch of numbers show up. You can click Add, and by the numbers, I'm going to have to probably talk to my dev team to see if there's an issue with connecting to the database. Once you have a number in spare, if you put a check mark in front of it, you can choose to delete that number. And it says successfully deleted, and now it's removed from your account. Right, but you have to make sure you unassign that a number before you can delete it. Port a number. This opens up the porting process. This essentially, at the very base, we need a copy of your bill and a filled out letter of agency, or LOA. You can always send that to porting@virtualpbx.com, or follow the steps on this process here. It'll take you through adding a bill, uploading a completed LOA. It also has links to download the blank LOA so you can fill it out, that sort of thing. But what porting means is you're moving a number from, say, AT&T to VirtualPBX, right? From some other carrier to us. That way, normally when people are doing that, it's because they want to close the account of where they have that number. So they're like, okay, move it to VirtualPBX because I just signed up with you guys. We get the number working. Okay, close that other account so I don't have multiple accounts. All right, users. This is your user page, and you can see all the users on the account. These gray people, like Bob here, this is just your standard user, right? So they're just in making and receiving calls. The people with the little blue suit, that means they're system admins, so they can make all these changes that we're talking about today. Adding a user, click up top here. You enter in their name. Each user needs to have a unique email address in terms of their sign up. That's what they use to log in. You create a password for them. And then you give a main extension number. Now, this system I started off with extension 1000. So the system defaults your main extension number for any new users to start with 1000. In this case, 1015 is the next available extension number. So that's what it's offering. But I could change it to make it 2015 or 2020, whatever I want. By default, the system will create a voicemail box for every new user. This voicemail box is tied directly to that user. You don't have to do that. It's just that if you ever, we recommend that you do. If you ever need to, you can delete that voicemail box. But creating a voicemail box and then trying to attach it to a user directly is not currently possible. So it's just easier just to create it and leave it. Here's your option to include in the user directory. Just put a check mark if you want them in there. And then this is the other one that should be checked. I don't know why it's not defaulted that way, but send credentials to the new user, i.e., here's your username and password. Here's where you go to log in. Kind of useful. And then you either click create user or create user and then add another one in case you're adding multiple people. Once you're added onto them, you can always click on the people's names here. You can change their name. You can change their credentials. And as an admin, you can always click this little link here to resend them the password reset in case they forgot their password. Voicemail box PIN, you can change the PIN. Now, for your VoIP phone users, right, once you create the user and you add a VoIP phone to them, you don't need to add a voicemail box PIN because they can just pick up their VoIP phone and dial in. Since it's a VoIP phone on their user, it'll say, hey, it'll guide them through setting up the voicemail box. Now, if they're only going to be using like a cell phone or a landline, then you do need to set up a PIN number for them. Send email to an alternate address. This is in addition to the login email address, right? So if Bob wants to get his work emails also sent to his home address, he can do so, or you can do so for him. And again, you've got the option here to include the user directory, or you can just take them out by doing that. Over here on the right, this is normally a pull down that you can change to a user to an admin, or vice versa. Here you can change the time zone that the person is in. This is your language options, which is French, German, English, or Russian. Ringing timeout. This is the default amount of time that the system will offer a call to a user. Typically, a user's default is 20 seconds. However, if a user is using a cell phone especially, you're going to want to up that to 30 seconds at least, if not 45 or a minute. You got the main extension number and then their privacy, or caller ID privacy. Next up, you've got the extension box. So users can have multiple extensions if you want them to. Like I have a use case I know is like we have one of our executive team in charge of our sales team. Whenever we lose a salesperson, he takes over their extension, so that way any calls that come in, he can always handle and then either send to one of the other salespeople or get their voicemails and get those potential customers taken care of. Right? Users can have their own phone number. You can either add from your spare numbers or you buy a new one. And then we got devices. So add from your spare devices, this means you have extra devices on the account, or you just add a new device. And you've got some options here. First is SIP phone. This is a physical VoIP phone. You can choose from one of these manufacturers. You find the model of your phone, and then at the bottom, you would enter in the device name and the MAC address of the phone. MAC address is usually on a sticker on the back side of the phone or on the box that the phone came in. It's unique to that particular device. Now, in terms of dash, that's all you need to do for the VoIP phone. However, in the VoIP phone itself, you need to access its web UI and need to make an update internally to basically make it go to a particular web address. And then that'll allow that phone to communicate with our servers to get the proper config files. It will reboot, and then the phone should be on the system. The actual specifics for each model of phone will be on our website. All right, cell phone and landline are basically the same. You enter in a device name, and then you put the phone number, right? +1 area code and number for that phone number, and then you would click on Create Device. Now, let's go down here. Once you've added a cell phone or a landline, you want to go to the advanced field, and you've got a couple options here. So typically, it's going to look something like this. All right, so by default, when Dash offers a call to a cell phone or landline, right, your phone will ring, you pick up, you'll hear a message saying, "This is a forwarded call, please press 1." Which is basically the system wants confirmation that you're there to take the call. Right? If you're not able to press 1, then it'll either roll to your next device or go to your voicemail box. Now, if an instance where you're actually sending a call to, say, an answering service, then you might want to click on this box here for allow use of cell phone's voicemail. What that does is you no longer have to press 1 to accept a phone call. So when, in the case of going to an answering service, the answering service picks up, we connect the call. Now, if you're actually going to a cell phone, that means if your cell phone voicemail picks up, the caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Again, that's up to you. Keep original caller ID. This is what shows up on your cell phone or your landline in terms of the inbound caller ID information. So if this is checked, that means the original caller's phone number is showing up. Right? If you uncheck it, then what happens is the PBX phone number they called, so they called in on the main number, the main number will show up on your cell phone. So it's a way to let you know, oh, this is a work call versus some random, telemarketer or whatever. All right, soft phone. Little warning message basically about E911. You want to make sure you have the correct information. Now, by default, when you add a soft phone, it's adding what we refer to as a third-party soft phone, meaning you're using some other application or you're going to use this to program a VoIP phone that didn't show up under the SIP phone list. Right, so you would give it a name, and then you would copy down this information to program your application or your device. Now, if instead you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone app, what you want to do is click right down here where it says Use Third-Party Application. You switch it to use VirtualPBX application, and then you just give it a name. You click Create Device. Then what happens is this user gets an email with their credentials to log into the soft phone app, and then directed to download the app. Please bear in mind, if you're using the desktop version of the app, there is a license fee involved. The list price of that is $39.99. However, sometimes we do have that on sale in our web store. The desktop version is for Mac OS or Windows. Web phone, and you want to do this directly on a user because it's tied to their user. You basically give it a name and click Create Device. So for the web phone, when they click on the web phone link, they just use their Dash login information. So that same email address and the password they use to log into the dashboard page. That's what they use to log in to the web phone. Again, use Chrome and use or Firefox. Next up, we got user features. Caller ID number. So for any user that has their own phone number, you can enable this. And so that way, whenever they make an outbound call, their own particular phone numbers will show up on the outbound caller ID. Right? If they turn it off, it'll just be one of the main company number. Call forwarding is for your VoIP phone users. You have off, on, or failover mode. Off means it's not working. On means, hey, I'm going to be away from my desk, so I'm not going to be able to answer calls on my physical VoIP phone. But go ahead and forward to mobile phone, put this phone number, and now calls that will come to my user instead go to my cell phone. And then if I click failover mode, this basically means when the system detects that my VoIP phone is no longer registering, that any calls that come to me during that time will automatically go to my cell phone. So basically, if I start getting calls on my cell phone, I'm like, what's going on? And I can double check like my internet connection. The main thing to remember is this device that you're forwarding to should not be a device on your user. You apologize. Oh, wait, maybe we're back. Yeah, looks like we are back. All right, I'm not sure what happened there. Looks like we were just having connection issues with YouTube here. All right, so follow me is for users who have multiple devices. You can see here I have them going in order. I can change the order around by clicking and dragging. I can click distribute again and change the order. I can also adjust the sliders here so I can have them all ring at once. This is referred to as blast ringing. And to click on Save Changes. If I go back, up here, this is your total ring duration with Follow Me enabled. Now, Follow Me assumes you have more devices than just one, so that's why it's got a longer default ringing timeout. And you can also adjust that to a higher number if you want. You also have other devices here where any new device you add will start off as do not ring until you uncheck it, and then you can adjust the slider. Obviously, if you decide, oh, I don't want to use this one anymore, you can do that as well. Music on hold. Users can have their own individual music on hold. Again, this is when they press hold on their phone. You can select from an existing file or upload your own. Customized call recording. So by default, the account default is off. If you're going to turn it on, you have to manually decide to do that. Inbound internal means the call comes to me from another user on the account, right? So Bob Smith calls me. Inbound external means a customer calling me. Right? Outbound internal means I'm calling Bob Smith. Right? Outbound external means I'm calling a customer. And then you have the option here to do not disturb because you know that user is, say, on vacation for a while. All right, let's go over to groups. So groups are a department, right? So a group of people who answer calls about a similar topic. You create a group by giving it a name, giving it an extension number, and then you click and drag the people you want to be in the group. And then you would click on Create Group. Once it's created, you can click on the name here. You can always change the name. And then dialing repeats, you got these little arrows here on the right that you might not be able to see on YouTube. But you can up the number of repeats. Basically, this is the number of times an inbound caller can try to ring everyone in the group. So in this case, it can try to ring through twice to everybody. Now, in terms of the members, Again, you've got all the people who are in the group. Right now I have in distribution mode, right? So rings each person in order. Again, I can change that order around, and I can click redistribute if I want. My total ring time is up here. Again, I can increase that if I want to. And again, you've got the sliders, so you can adjust it to ring everybody at the same time, or even the same amount of time for blast ringing options. Now, under extension, again, like a user, a group can have multiple extension numbers, and this is basically for internal use. This is for you and your staff to transfer calls to this group. A group can have its own phone number, and this means this number goes directly into the group. It doesn't go through your virtual receptionist or anything like that. And then you've got group features. All right, first and foremost, call recording. This is yes or no. It's either enabled or not. So basically all calls that come into the group get recorded or they don't. Ringback, this is essentially hold music for while your inbound caller is waiting for one of the group members to pick up. So you want to have a file uploaded. You want to make sure that the duration of that file is at least as long as the ringing timeout. So default is 120 seconds. Because the system does not automatically loop your file. Next action, if no one's able to pick up after the dialing repeats, what do you want it to do? In this case, I'm having it go to Bob's voicemail box. The other options is obviously any other voicemail box, or you can have it go back to your main open hours menu. You can have it go to a particular user or a particular device as well. Allow call forward. This basically allows your VoIP phone users to enable call forwarding so they can get it on their cell phones. And then caller ID prepend. This is again for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID. This lets your staff know what the call is about, right? This is especially useful if you have staff members in multiple groups. So that way they get a quick, oh, this is about this product or this service, etc. Devices, these are all the devices on the account. You can add devices here as well. The main thing is you don't want to add a VirtualPBX soft phone here, nor would you want to add a web phone here, just because those need to be associated with particular users. But beyond that, you can add any other device here. Green means they're connected. Red means they're not. Black means they're disabled, which you can just change that, and then it turns green. And you can also click the wrench icon so you can adjust like those advanced settings. Voicemail boxes, these are all the voicemail boxes on the account. Notice that the ones that are with users, they're automatically tied to a user. There's no way for me to assign a voicemail box to a specific user. So that's why I said initially under users, just create the voicemail box at that time. If you need to add a new voicemail box, you can do so. Just give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. After you create it, you would want to go over to the advanced. First, you want to make sure you get a greeting file on there. So therefore, there's a, thank you, basically instructions to leave a message. Or if it's just you're giving out information, right? So then you can say, hey, these are our hours of operation, sort of thing. Recipients, you would add a recipient. You just put an email address of whoever's getting the voicemail notifications. Then when you're done with those two things, you would go under options. Once you have a greeting file set up, you can say it's already set up. Up to you if you want to require these things. The other one is delete after notification. So every voicemail box can hold up to 100 messages. After that, it is full. And anyone trying to leave a message just gets that message saying the voicemail box is full. Please try again later. But if you automatically send, since the system already emails out, here's your voicemail. You can choose to delete after notification, meaning the system sends out that email with the voicemail file, then it'll delete the voicemail from the system, so you don't have to worry about a voicemail box filling up. Greetings, this is your greeting manager, so you can see your greetings that you have already uploaded or added. You can download them so you can listen to them again to make sure they're relevant or not. You can edit them so you can change the name so it's more relevant to what you're looking for, or if it's something you're never going to use, just click delete and get rid of it. Call logs shows the call activity on the account. So the green arrow to the right, that means that's an inbound call came into the system. If you see an orange arrow to the left, that means it's an outgoing call. This is a test system, so you don't have a whole lot of calls, but basically you can click on it to get a little bit more details. On a normal system, you'll see it going to like a user and their specific device and for how long. Feature codes. These are codes that you can use, or dial pad shortcuts that you can use on a VoIP phone. Right, so call center, meaning if you're using ACD queues, you got your call forwarding options, so that any user can set up their call forwarding from their phone. Hot desking, I mentioned earlier, as well as these others. And the feature codes are also on our website, so you can view them without having to log in. Sorry about that. All right, so now let's go over here. So we're on the dashboard here. So next up is blacklists. Basically, you would click Edit Blacklists. You'd either add one if you don't have one, or choose one that you already have. You can always change the name. Block Anonymous means if we don't have a valid caller ID, we'll block it. And then you can add specific phone numbers, +1 area code and phone number. And then you would click Save. You go back to Settings. And then you move that list over under Selected, and you click Update. And now those numbers are blocked from hitting the account. What happens is if those phone numbers try to call you on your account, they'll just get a busy tone. All right, monitor. This shows you what your staff is up to, essentially. Green means they're waiting for a call. And blue means they're on an inbound call. Red means they're marked away. Yellow is they're on an external call, and then gold is they're on wrap-up time from a queue. Voicemails. As an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account and see and listen to their voicemail boxes. And then this is linked to AWS storage if you make use of that. Webhooks. If you want to make use of webhooks, basically it's connecting APIs to Dash to integrate with other software. We have AWS integration. ACD queues or ACD queues Pro. Those are two types. They're similar products. Just one has more features than the other. But basically, if you have queues, that's the login thing that everyone has. You click Begin. On ACD queues, you always start off in away mode. On ACD queues Pro, you start off in ready mode when you click Begin. All right, so you can click up here to add a queue. But once you add a queue, we can click on the settings here, and I'll get to so you have the basic information here, and you can download it here. If you click on basic info, you can change the name and the call-in extension or phone number. Queue call limit. 0 means there's no limit. Otherwise, you can limit the number of people who can be in the queue. If you can zero out the call flow, this means if you allow pressing 0 while they're waiting on hold, and then where do you want the call to go at that point? Normally it's to like a cell phone, or I mean not to a cell phone, to a voicemail box. Queue timeout, how much time people can wait on hold. Display agents to other agents. You can choose to let other agents see the status of other agents. And then timeout immediately if empty basically means if there's no agents logged in, then have the timeout rules take effect immediately. Then you have record all calls in this queue. Escalation handling, basically your agents aren't able to pick up. You have an escalation queue, meaning you have a second queue. You would select it here, or if you have none, then you're saying, hey, I'm going to go to a voicemail box. This would also be what happens when the queue timeout, if empty, would instantly go to the voicemail box in this case. You've got your routing strategies, so you got most idle, basically who's been waiting the longest. Last call, least calls handled, meaning who's been getting, or least amount of connected calls, right? Least offers means who's gotten the least amount of offered calls. And then round robin, equally distributed among everyone in the queue. Hold treatment. You can choose to like announce their position, announce how much their wait time is. You can give a pause. You can also play a media file. You can do multiple of these things as well. So you can play media file, then announce their position, play media file again, announce their wait, etc. Agent behavior. Agent connect timeout. Basically, how much timeout is a call going to be ringing to that agent? So in this case, 20 seconds. If you force away on missed or rejected, basically, if an agent misses a call or rejects a call, they're automatically put in away mode. The system will reset them back to ready mode after about a minute, the first time they miss a call. Obviously, if the agent sees that they're in away mode, they can put themselves manually back into ready mode. Recovery time, basically how much time after they're done with a call before the system offers them another call, so they can get a drink of water, finish the notes, etc. And then you have the option to allow them to extend that recovery time. Member assignment, so these are the people available to be in a queue. And then if you want to add people to a queue, you click and then you select. Now they're added. And then you have the option to review and confirm. Performance, this is for your admins. Basically, they can take a look at people in various queues and see how they're doing. Members, this is how you determine who's actually going to be in a queue or who can be in queues. You click manage. Anyone you want to be able to queue, you click to select and add them, and now they're in that pool of people you can then put in the rest of the queues. Faxes, this is like the voicemail boxes. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account. You can also see any of the outbound faxes. Probably the most important thing is email to fax logs, because you can see error messages, determine what happened with a fax and why it didn't go out. User portal, this is something everyone has access to. So basically, users can check their voicemails here. Now, if you have delete after notification, they're not going to have anything here. Call history, they can see the calls they've made and received. They can review their faxing. Contact list, this is basically all the list or all the users and groups and whatnot in the account. This is not something that they can add their own personal contacts to. Conference, they can manage their conferencing here. So again, here's their conference number. their moderator PIN or their participant PIN, right? So if they're going to be in charge of the conference, they would log in using the moderator PIN, versus if they're just going to be a participant and someone else is moderating, they would use this other PIN here. Obviously, this is what they would give out to people attending their conference. Up here, they can add or invite people who are other users on the account into their conference. They can lock their conference, mute everybody, unmute everybody, hang up the conference. When you're actually in a conference on individual participants, you can mute a particular participant or you can kick a particular participant as well. And then settings and devices. Again, they can enable call forwarding right here and then enter the number, and then it can also see the devices right now. I don't think the reports are active yet, so I'll have to skip that. And then call recording, you can set up storage settings. So like if you're going to link to AWS, etc. And that is everything. All right. I do apologize for the weird connection issue we had in the middle there. That's why we'll start. Hopefully we'll figure out what's going on with that. Beyond that, I thank you for your time today. This recording or this training will be on our YouTube channel, so you can review it at any time. There's also a link to another one on our website, and we'll be here every Tuesday. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.